If there's one modern franchise that comes to mind in regards to conquering insurmountable odds, it's the Kung Fu Panda series from DreamWorks Animation. The first installment in 2008 was coming out at a time where DreamWorks was starting to stagnate. Shrek the Third, B-Movie, Shark Tale, Madagascar and Over the Hedge, while providing financial success, were starting to give the impression that this was a cash grab company, and when you deal with a concept like a fat panda learning martial arts, you're almost guaranteed to be set up for disappointment. But the movie was actually pretty darn awesome, and its 2011 sequel is even better. But Kung Fu Panda 2, while the most financially successful movie to ever be directed solely by a woman, was a box office disappointment for DreamWorks, who invested a lot in the franchise. But Kung Fu Panda 2 did incredible business in China, and it's them you can thank for Kung Fu Panda 3. In fact, this third installment is the first DreamWorks movie to be made under the Oriental DreamWorks banner, with a lot of the movie's production being handled by the Chinese film industry. Can the new approach keep this franchise going, especially since DreamWorks are starting to stagnate again, and can lightning really strike for a third time with this franchise that shouldn't be as good as it is? Comparisons to the previous two films are going to be inevitable, so I'll just get them out of the way first. In terms of its presentation, aesthetic and colour palette, Kung Fu Panda 3 is the best of the entire trilogy, though the last movie was 4 years ago, so technology has naturally progressed since then. However, when it comes to the tone and the story, this is the weakest. Kung Fu Panda 3 is a lot more kid-oriented, with a much bigger emphasis on easy-to-grasp visual comedy, slapstick and physical humour. That's not to say that any of the humour in Kung Fu Panda 3 is bad, far from it. In fact, this is possibly the funniest movie in the trilogy, but it feels like with the subject matter at play that the series should be moving into more mature directions. I'm not saying that it needs to be adult oriented or gritty, but the most suitable comparison for this trilogy now would be the original Star Wars trilogy, as Kung Fu Panda 2 will go down as the best and most mature of the trilogy, much like Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. But let's focus on some good stuff. While Poe is an endearing, enjoyable and light-hearted protagonist, it's nice to see the supporting cast get a bit more to do, particularly the Furious Five, who in the previous movies might as well only have comprised of Tigress. We even get to meet a few more Kung Fu masters who take the form of spirit puppets controlled by the villain Kai, which allows him to still have a presence throughout the narrative and a threat for the heroes to fight, even if he's not actually there. It gives the movie a nice pace and allows the movie to incorporate more meaningful set pieces, which was an issue with the first film. However, this is a double-edged sword, as the main crux of the narrative has Poe travel to the hidden Panda Valley with his real father Li Shan and his adoptive father Mr. Ping, so he can learn how to truly be a panda, which involves a lot of rolling around everywhere, sleeping and eating a lot, and just having fun. This is where most of the slapstick comes in, but it feels counterintuitive to show that while Poe is just chilling in the Panda Valley, there's real world-ending consequences happening elsewhere in the story. Obviously, Poe doesn't do this deliberately, but it means that Kung Fu Panda 3's main story grinds to a halt for most of the second act. I can imagine many audience members skipping through these segments when the movie comes to home media. In terms of the broad emotions at play in the heart of the story, the best moment of Kung Fu Panda 3 is actually a callback to Kung Fu Panda 2, as Li Shang reflects on what it was like to lose his wife and his son, and how he's willing to do anything to never go through that again. Li Shan is easily the most compelling new addition to the cast, and undergoes a really gripping arc, but the sequence in question just reminded me of how amazing Kung Fu Panda 2 was, which surely can't have been the intention. But it manages to recover from that with a very meaningful interaction between Poe's two fathers near the end of the movie, and you come to realise that some of the best moments in this entire trilogy have revolved around Mr. Ping, oddly enough. As for the other new additions, Kai is a fun, laid-back villain with an inventive fighting style as he wields two jade swords attached to chains. He also manages to become even stronger with every opponent he defeats as he steals their chi, though just what chi is and what it can do is never really well established. He's a strong villain and is a definite improvement over Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda, but is a downgrade from the superb Lord Shen from Kung Fu Panda 2. Sorry to keep comparing to the previous films, but honestly, it's where my mind keeps going with this film. J.K. Simmons does kill it in terms of his vocal performance for Kai. In fact, everyone in the cast does a terrific job, as is to be expected, with Bryan Cranston being the standout. Even though this could have been perceived as just a kids movie, he's clearly invested in the material. We also have the new panda additions to the cast, most of whom are just one-joke supporting characters, as well as cute baby pandas, which thankfully don't devolve into minion-style pandering. But Kate Hudson gets practically nothing to do as Mei Mei, who is a ribbon-twirling female panda. It may sound like I wasn't a big fan of the movie with this review, but I really did have a lot of fun with Kung Fu Panda 3. Regardless of it living in the shadow of two superior predecessors, it was still full of heartfelt moments, lots of character beats, plentiful laughs, and engaging action set pieces. It still stands head and shoulders above other DreamWorks animated fare like Home, The Croods, and Turbo, though it is the weakest of the trilogy. But animation-wise, this is easily the best of the three, with the Chinese cultural influences giving Kung Fu Panda 3 a unique feel and look, despite still feeling wholly consistent with the previous films. The fight sequences are a low point in the franchise, though still inventive and awesome, but the colours and the interpretation of the spirit world is utterly astounding. The use of greens and yellows, as well as the textures and vastness of the locations, makes Kung Fu Panda 3 one of the most gorgeous 3D animated films I've seen since, well, DreamWorks Animation's How to Train Your Dragon 2. The slapstick may not be for everyone, but the sense of timing and weight and inertia of objects and people are still convincing, and as you'd expect, Hans Zimmer's score is still incredible, impactful, and awesome. So after all of that, here's my conclusion. The toughest part in reviewing Kung Fu Panda 3 is considering whether or not my thoughts on it would be the same if it was a standalone movie with zero franchise baggage, because as a self-contained animated film, it's heartfelt, gorgeously animated, really funny, action-packed with an enjoyable villain and endearing lead characters, but it feels like we've been there and done that before, just with less slapstick in Kung Fu Panda and Kung Fu Panda 2. However, props do need to be given for still providing a solid installment in this franchise without copying the structure and storyline from the first two, and for making a satisfying, family-friendly adventure. I look forward to seeing what Poe and his friends, as well as DreamWorks Oriental, do next. I give Kung Fu Panda 3 3.5 stars out of 5.
Gotta get in there.
But Master Chief,
You're seriously afraid? Even Master Chicken's going in there, and he's a chicken.
Hello everyone, thanks for listening to my review. You can find these reviews a day or two early on my website, www.trilbee.com, so be sure to visit there where you can find a written version and other written content. But more importantly, what did you think of the film? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe for more movie-related analysis. Be sure to hit that like button because that really helps me out, and you can support my content through Patreon and also get your name in the credits with these other lovely people and get exclusive perks and updates. I'll see you folks next time.